Thank you for tuning in to I've Got Answers, where today the question is, are the Chicago Bulls a playoff team? Well, I got some answers for you, so let's get to it. Well, I have some good news and bad news for Bulls fans. And most people like to hear the bad news, so let's get right into the bad news. They will not win an NBA Finals this year. And Dwayne Wade is not the future. Okay? But that's pretty much it for the bad news. The good news is they will be in the playoffs because there are three teams that really hurt themselves roster-wise. Also, there's a fourth team in there that really has to figure out what the identity of their team is going to be. So we'll jump right into that right now. The teams that I believe will not be in the playoffs or will be fighting for like an eighth spot because the Bucks did get better and they're going to be, in playoff contention as well. So those three teams are Atlanta, Charlotte, and Miami. The fourth team is the Pistons. The Pistons have to figure out what their identity is going to be. Is it going to be defense or is it going to be offense? Because they have offensive players, but their best player being Andre Drummond is a defensive player who grabs a lot of rebounds and dunks. I don't believe you can go through him offensively, but it does look like he's adding a little bit more to his game as far as the offensive side of the ball goes. Then with Atlanta, they gave away their all-star point guard, laughable. Then Al Horford walks away. So they lose Al Horford and then give away Jeff Teague. That's going to be a huge blow for them because we all know Jeff Teague was hurt. Then they gave the keys to Dennis Schroeder and brought in Dwight Howard. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know how much you could really depend on Dwight Howard. But if anything, this is a redemption year for him. So we'll see how that works out for Atlanta. The Hornets, they also lost their big man who was also their best player in Al Jefferson. He went to the Pacers and joined Jeff Teague, Paul George, Monte Ellis, and then the Pacers also signed Thaddeus Young. So, as much as I like Kemba Walker, I have to admit he is a very inconsistent player. And he's not a point guard. He's the only reason that you would even look at him as a point guard is because of his height. He shoots a lot, doesn't pass that much, doesn't average that many assists. And if he's going, he's almost unguardable. But when he's not going, things are not great. But they do have him and Batum, so they just have to fill in the spots. Also, Marvin Williams, who I overlooked, has also stepped up his game, at least 3-point shooting wise. So they'll be interesting, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs unless they add something else or get something else. Another player is what I mean by something else. Miami letting Dwayne Wade go and just bringing in whoever is available, for this amount of money, a little bit amount of money, they just brought people in. So they just filled up the roster with guys. They look like they're in rebuilding mode, and we know, as Laker fans, we know what rebuilding looks like. No playoffs in sight. So there's Atlanta, the Hornets, and Miami. So the Bulls' chances of making the playoffs is wide open. It's wide open. So I believe that they will make it because Rondo and Dwayne Wade have NBA Finals experience and rings. They've actually made it there and they've actually won. They've had some success at the highest level. that's going to prove extremely well for them because Rondo is the guy who averages a lot of assists, mainly because he has the ball in his hands all the time. But his teammates don't seem to mind because they're going to get the ball where they can catch and shoot, catch and lay it up, or dunk. He's going to make sure that they're in those positions to be the most successful that they can be. Also, something that's very funny is the Bulls do have three-point shooting. It's just on the bench. So, once again, the coach is just going to have to coach. We all know that Dwayne Wade is either not going to play every game or he's going to play limited amount of minutes. So, Doug McDermott, who's probably their best three-point shooter, and Mirotic, those two guys should be able to help. But then they do have Isaiah Cannon, who had a pretty good year from behind the line, from the three-point line, who's going to be a backup point guard. And Tony Snell should also help, as well. So, again, the coach just has to coach. Rondo and Wade. Wade actually looks really good this year. He's not the same athletic Dwayne Wade. His three-point shooting has picked up. He's not Steph Curry, not going to be Steph Curry, but he doesn't have to be. All he has to be is efficient and effective. And he actually showed that in the playoffs last year, and he's showing it again in the preseason so far. So those are going to be interesting things to see as well. So again, the Bulls will be in the playoffs. Bull fans should be happy this year. It's going to be fun. Hopefully they make their staple defense because Rondo plays defense, Dwayne Wade plays defense. Jimmy Butler is one of the best two-way players in the league. Okay? Then you have Taj Gibson and Brook Lopez. Taj Gibson, hustle player, and so is Brook Lopez. Both of them also can step out and hit 15-footers. So, once again, the coach has his work cut out for him, and it'll depend on what positions, what system they decide to use, but their staple should be defense. They have a lot of defensive players. So they should be able to disrupt some teams and, cause a lot of turnovers. But that being said, again, the Bulls and the Bucks will make that push for the playoffs, and I believe both of those teams will be in the playoffs, the Bulls and the Bucks. Thank you once again for listening to me rant. I've got answers. Signing out. Thank you once again for tuning into my show. Please hit the like button. Also subscribe because I will be bringing a lot more videos. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any comments, any questions, get in the comment section below. Thank you. We'll see you next time on I Got It.